A clash of narratives and a volatile nuclear debate. A leaked U.S. intelligence report has sent shockwaves through global diplomatic circles, claiming Iran's nuclear ambitions may only be months from fruition. But Brian Hook, former U.S. Special Envoy for Iran under the Trump administration, has dismissed the alarm with a scathing rebuttal. In a recent interview, Hook called the claims completely preposterous, challenging both the substance and the political intent behind the leak. This development isn't just a policy disagreement, it's a deeper reckoning over intelligence, reliability, U.S. credibility, and the future of nuclear diplomacy. In a world increasingly shaped by information warfare and strategic leaks, the consequences of such competing narratives are vast. This summary explores the issue from multiple angles: **** diplomatic rift, economic tension, historical echoes ****, and the **** human impact **** at ground level. Brian Hook's sharp criticism highlights a growing divide within U.S. policy circles over how to handle Iran. While the leaked intelligence paints a picture of urgency suggesting Tehran is just months away from nuclear breakout capability, Hook argues that the report is politically motivated, designed to build public pressure and perhaps justify preemptive action. This public contradiction from a former high-ranking official puts pressure on current U.S. diplomacy, particularly as negotiations with Iran remain frozen and the credibility of American intelligence comes under international scrutiny. Allies in Europe, already wary of U.S. reliability after the collapse of the 2015 JCPOA nuclear deal, are left uncertain about which narrative to trust. Meanwhile, Israel's leadership continues to sound the alarm, citing the leak as further evidence of imminent danger. For Iran, this split signals opportunity. Tehran's negotiators may see the internal U.S. discord as a chance to stall further, hoping global actors remain divided on how to respond. The lack of a unified Western position makes it increasingly difficult to apply coordinated diplomatic or economic pressure. The economic ramifications of the leak and its political rebuttal are significant, while markets reacted with volatility as speculation grew over a potential escalation. A nuclear-capable Iran raises the stakes in the already fragile Persian Gulf, prompting energy traders to hedge against future supply disruptions. Brent crude briefly surged as investors reacted to the narrative of a narrowing timeline for confrontation. Brian Hook's remarks challenge this market panic. He suggests that the threat is being exaggerated to manipulate public opinion and justify hardline policies that could benefit the military-industrial complex or specific strategic actors. If true, this could mean the economic anxiety is based less on concrete threats and more on the politics of perception. Sanctions, too, hang in the balance. Renewed fears of nuclear escalation could lead to harsher financial restrictions on Tehran, further straining an economy already grappling with inflation, currency collapse, and internal unrest. However, if Hook's view gains traction, it may encourage certain global actors, particularly China and Russia, to resist further sanctions and instead deepen ties with Iran for strategic leverage against the West. This isn't the first time leaked intelligence has shaped the world's march toward war or peace. From the weapons of mass destruction claims before the Iraq invasion in 2003 to the revelations around North Korea's nuclear tests, history has repeatedly shown how politicized intelligence can tilt global events. Brian Hook's pushback invokes this very history. His comments suggest that the current moment bears dangerous resemblance to previous intelligence missteps where worst-case assessments, often amplified through selective leaks, led to conflict rather than containment. He calls for disciplined skepticism, arguing that reacting to unverified or misleading information could trigger unnecessary escalation. The U.S. intelligence community now faces a credibility challenge. If Hook is correct, then the leak may do long-term damage to America's ability to marshal international coalitions. If he's wrong, and Iran truly is months away from weaponization, the delay in consensus could prove catastrophic. Either way, the burden of proof has never been higher. Behind every strategic calculation are real people, millions of civilians across Iran, Israel, and neighboring regions who will bear the brunt of any misstep. Iranian citizens, already strained by economic sanctions and political repression, face growing uncertainty about the future. Talk of nuclear development brings no relief to a public desperate for economic stability and personal freedom. In Israel, the population lives under constant military readiness. Air raid drills, bomb shelters, and missile defense systems are part of everyday life, especially in northern regions bordering Hezbollah-controlled Lebanon. The possibility of a regional conflict sparked by faulty intelligence or premature military action is not theoretical, it is a lived fear. Hook's interview also indirectly raises a humanitarian question. What happens when nations gamble with information to justify force? If conflict breaks out based on unverified or exaggerated claims, the civilian toll will be irreversible. The world has seen this before in Iraq and Syria. Many fear that a similar playbook could unfold once again unless transparency and diplomacy prevail. The war of words between a leaked U.S. intelligence report and the sharp rebuttal from a former top envoy is more than a media soundbite. It's a high-stakes debate over the direction of global security policy. As Brian Hook calls the leak completely preposterous, he is also issuing a warning. Don't let politicized fear cloud the path to peace. But in a world fatigued by war, misinformation, and institutional distrust, clear judgment is difficult. The challenge ahead is not just knowing what's true, it's deciding what the world should do about it. In this case, the wrong move could redraw borders, fracture alliances, and risk the lives of millions. Watch the full documentary after the summary, only on this channel.
So how did this ceasefire deal between Iran and Israel actually get negotiated? We know President Trump was directly involved talking with Bibi Netanyahu, while Vance, Rubio, and my next guest talked with the Iranians. Here with what happened behind the scenes is Steve Witkoff, assistant to the president and special presidential envoy for peace missions. Steve, you have a lot on your plate, but you were tapped to help with this. How did we go from Israel bombing Iran and sending our B-2s with those bunker busters to brokering this ceasefire just days later? Take us inside these talks.
You know, Laura, I listened to your introduction, and you've got it right. So many people had it wrong about the president. He had an objective. He wouldn't have entered the war, entered this 12-day, as he calls it, war without that objective. The objective was to eliminate enrichment in Iran and weaponization capability on the part of Iran. And he achieved his objective. And he achieved it after 12 days. And so it was never going to be a forever war. It was never going to be a war just for war's sake. It was a war to achieve an objective that I think most Americans should be very, very satisfied with. I can tell you that I was in those discussions. I watched our commander-in-chief. He's got this uncanny ability to understand exactly when to push the button and when to pull out. He achieved his objective, and that was the end of it.
From the Iranian side of this, Steve, if you can share with us some of their concerns and some of their promises, given what we've seen and some of the reports with this leaked intelligence early assessment of what we know right now. What did Iran actually pledge?
Well, Iran throughout, since this conflict began, we've been talking to them about having some sort of peaceful settlement. And Iran's one caveat has always been that Israel had to stop its campaign. And once Israel fulfilled its objective, which they did, and once the United States fulfilled its objective, which it did, the total destruction of the enrichment capacity of the Iranian state, then the president was able to go to both parties and get a ceasefire done. And by the way, the proof is in the pudding. No one's shooting at each other. It's over.
Steve, this leaked intel assessment, it's an early look at what was actually accomplished on the ground. And I underline early, but it was leaked. Somebody decided to leak this from the DIA. And it's being used in the media, and it's all over today, that, Trump said it was obliterated, but it's not obliterated. It's set back months, but it's not over from Iran's nuclear program's perspective. Your reaction to that, and I assume you know what we're talking about with this leaked intel report.
Well, it goes without saying that leaking that type of information, whatever side it comes out on, is outrageous. It's treasonous. So it ought to be investigated, and whoever did it, whoever's responsible for it, should be held accountable. It could hurt lives in the future. Leaking is a completely unacceptable thing. But let me give you, because I've read all the damage assessment reports from not just our government, but from other governments. And I'm not going to get into anything that's top secret, but let me tell you for sure what happened here. There are three distinct facilities in Iran that we were concerned with. Isfahan, which is a conversion facility. You cannot weaponize unless you have what's called the conversion process at the beginning of enrichment, and then a conversion process to metallicize the material at the end of enrichment. That conversion facility, which as far as we know is the only facility in Iran that can do this, was completely destroyed at Esfahan. It's above ground. It was hit with a 30,000-pound bunker buster, and it could not survive that hit. So they have no conversion opportunity, and that means they cannot weaponize, even if they've enriched to 90%. Then there are two other nuclear reactors in Natanz, one above ground and one below ground. The below ground one we know we eviscerated, and the above ground one, which had been hit by the Israelis and had been substantially damaged, we put another bomb on top of it just to make sure that it was eviscerated, and we know for a fact it was. Fordo is the last enrichment reactor that was operating there, and we put 12 bunker buster bombs on Fordo. There's no doubt that it breached the canopy. There's no doubt that it was well within reach of the depth that these bunker buster bombs go to, and there's no doubt that it was obliterated. So the reporting out there that in some ways suggests that we did not achieve the objective is just completely preposterous.
So your conclusion tonight, seeing what you've seen, is that Iran could not resume its nuclear enrichment program within a matter of months.
It's not even conceivable. The destroying of the conversion facility, which not a lot of people are aware of, that stops the enrichment process in the beginning. And it's needed to finish the enrichment process. Once you get to 90%, you now must metallicize the material, shape it into a round ball, a round metallic ball. That round metallic ball goes into the bomb. Without conversion, you can't begin enrichment, and you can't end enrichment in a successful weaponization. That was taken out. Then on top of that, the nuclear reactors, again, as I said, 2 at Natanz, 1 in Fordo, all 3 of those had most, if not all, of the centrifuges damaged or destroyed in a way that it will be almost impossible for them to resurrect that program for, in my view, and in many other experts' views who have seen the raw data, it will take a period of years.
Senator Mark Kelly joined a chorus of Democrat senators who expressed deep concern about what may not have gone right with this. Watch.
Because of these, unconstitutional actions, we don't know where the uranium is. We don't know if we destroy these sites. And we don't know if the Iranians are going to race to the development of a nuclear weapon, and we wind up with a situation that's similar to what we're dealing with North Korea. Nobody wants that. I think the best way to deal with it now is if we can get back to the negotiating table. Talk about this. There was no plan here. There was no goals.
Take it away, Steve.
I listened to these things. Of course there was a plan here. There was an objective. The objective was eradicate nuclear enrichment capability, which we did. And even if there was nuclear material that was hidden, it was then to eradicate the conversion building, the conversion process that existed at Esfahan, which we did, which now rendered it absolutely impossible to weaponize.
Well, he doesn't care about knowing
no
this,
matter
or what? I mean, they either don't care about the details. I presume he's a very smart individual. He would be able to comprehend those details, but they're not interested in the truth. They're interested in a political smear of this administration without any sense of, magnanimity or common sense? And I got to say, Americans are watching this tonight, and they just throw their hands up. They don't know. They don't even have a response to that. But I've got to ask you one question, because what comes next, Steve, to negotiate a deal with Iran, as this ceasefire we hope holds, what would that look like, given what you've concluded about this uranium enrichment and the overall program? Obviously, you have to get inspectors in there. How would that be different from previous efforts to hold Iran accountable through inspections?
Well, first of all, the IEA is involved. By the way, the IEA, Rafael Grossi, I've talked to each and every day multiple times. He agrees with the assessments that I'm giving you tonight, Laura. So there's plenty of backup for the administration's opinion here. With regard to the Iranians, the president has said unequivocally that he wants to see, and he's hopeful for, a comprehensive peace agreement that goes beyond even the ceasefire. We're already talking to each other, not just directly, but also through interlocutors. I think that the conversations are promising. We're hopeful that we can have a long-term peace agreement that resurrects Iran, that brings it into the League of Nations, that creates long-term prosperity for Iran, and most importantly, allows for the GCC to grow economically. Eliminating this risk was crucial to the economic future and prosperity of the entire Gulf region. And we've achieved that. So I think now it's time for us to sit down with the Iranians and get to a comprehensive peace agreement. And I'm very confident that we're going to achieve that.
Well, that's exciting. Steve, I have about 15 seconds. Will you allow any uranium enrichment in this deal?
No.
Oh, that's 15 seconds.
Need it, Laura. Right. They don't need it. What they need is a civil non-enrichment program, just like Abu Dhabi has. They're running a reactor like that called Boucher, where they don't have enrichment and they're getting fuel from the outside. And we're going to work with them on this. But what they don't need is enrichment.
Steve, thank you very much for these details, your perspective, and for trying to set the record straight. We really appreciate it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.